5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And liftoff at dawn. The dawn of Orion and a new era of space exploration.
My kids, our kids, they're going to be the Artemis generation. And I think this is going to be incredibly uplifting. In these sometimes troubled days, I think the Artemis campaign falls right at the right time to bring people together with this collective dream, this incredible power that space exploration has to uplift people and bring them together towards a common, very difficult, and very worthy goal.
That is Canadian astronaut David Saint-Jacques to the backdrop of the launch of the uncrewed Orion spacecraft 3 years ago, part of the Artemis moon mission. He joins us as the Artemis II mission to the moon is getting ready to launch, this time with a crew that includes his friend and colleague, fellow Canadian astronaut Jeremy Hansen. I'm thrilled to welcome David Saint-Jacques back to the Explore podcast. Welcome to all you explorers out there, armchair and in motion. We're heading back into space today, people, with David Saint-Jacques. We last spoke to David back in 2020 when he was coming off his record-setting 204-day stay on the International Space Station. Definitely check that interview out if you haven't already. It's fascinating. Jeremy Hansen is the lone Canadian crew member on Artemis II. Not only that, he's the first Canadian ever on a moon mission and the first ever non-American. David describes Hansen as being like a brother, and we get into why he's got the right stuff for this mission. Artemis will be the first human-crewed test of the Orion spacecraft, getting it ready to actually land on the moon in future missions. Over 10 days, it will fly around the moon, possibly reaching further into space than any crewed mission ever. Apollo 13 currently holds the record at just over 400,000 kilometers from Earth. The earliest launch date from the Kennedy Space Center in Florida is February 6th. Canadian Geographic will have a team of journalists on the ground there, led by award-winning science writer Alana Mitchell, providing live updates on our website and social media platforms. Also on site will be RCGS CEO John Geiger and honorary fellow and Canadian astronaut Robert Thirsk. Lots of excitement, lots of reasons to follow us on social media at CanGeo and online at canadiangeographic.ca. Right now, let's get to David Saint-Jacques and Artemis II.
And liftoff.
David Saint-Jacques, welcome back to the Explore podcast.
Bonjour, bonjour. It's good to be back for a very cool topic.
It is. What an exciting time this is, right? Obviously, there's a whole bunch of things about the Artemis mission, Artemis II mission, but we're going back to the moon, right? And for people who are wondering why 50 years later we're going back to the moon, what is it that excites you about this?
I did not see the Apollo landings. I was a baby. My mom was pregnant with me during Apollo 11. But I'm definitely of the Apollo generation. Maybe you were of the Apollo generation, I think, looking at your
gray hair, my beard.
Your gray hair, your beard. Yeah. You know what? That means something. We were motivated by the mystery, the allure, the appeal of space exploration. And it was, I think, for a whole generation, it was a great source of inspiration and pride in doing something collectively. My kids, our kids, they're going to be the Artemis generation. And I think this is going to be incredibly uplifting. In these sometimes troubled days, I think the Artemis campaign falls right at the right time to bring people together with this collective dream, this incredible power that space exploration has to uplift people and bring them together towards a common, very difficult, and very worthy goal. So why we're going back to the moon? The moon is there. We're going back, not just going back, we're going back to stay, maybe to settle. We're also going back with on the back of our mind, this idea that one day we'll send people to Mars. This is incredibly difficult and perilous, and we need to figure it out on the moon. I like to make this analogy that I'm a space station guy. Space station is in our backyard, so we kind of practice camping in our backyard. That's what space station is. The moon is like the mountain an hour's drive away. You camp in your backyard, you test your kit, you're happy, If it's bad, you can go back inside. The moon, no, you're not going back. You're not aborting a mission. You're going to go there, do your mission, come back. That's like going to the little mountain nearby. The real dream is go to Mars. That's like going to Everest. So these are all preparatory steps, but we need to get back in the saddle. And there's a lot to learn on the moon about the history of our solar system, about the origin of life on Earth. So there's a lot of good reasons, but there's nothing wrong with the reason that we want to go because it's there and we like to dream big.
Yeah. We had Roberta Bondar on the podcast a few years ago, too, another great Canadian astronaut, obviously. One of the things she said, too, is it's a great place for, obviously, the International Space Station was one thing where we cooperated internationally in space. This is a next step, too, in that we have to figure out what it's like to be on another exoplanet or planet, like be on the ground, what mining rights like how you cooperate, all that kind of stuff. Does that make sense to you, too?
True. So there is an open treaty called the Artemis Accords that are trying to do just that, trying to figure out the rules of engagement. If we're going to have many countries, many agencies, many private entities going to the moon, settling on the moon. So it's inspired by the way we manage Antarctica, for example, with some nuances, but I think it is a very important consideration because it could come fast. Could, and we don't want this to be the Wild West. We'd like to get organized ahead of time.
Yeah, for sure. And this is like a 10-day mission, and they're going probably further out in space than ever. And what aspects of the mission are you really excited about? What will you be watching closely as this unfolds?
There's a bunch of technical questions that the nerdy engineer in me is really excited about.
You can tease us on one or two. Give us a shot.
The re-entry into the atmosphere is one technical aspect that's really drove the Artemis I mission. I was on space station that's orbiting the Earth at about something like 8 kilometers per second. But when you go to the moon and you basically fall back from the moon, it's more like 13 kilometers per second. It's a different ballgame in terms of the requirements on the heat shield. So much so that we can't even simulate those temperatures on Earth in laboratories. That's why we had the Artemis I mission uncrewed with crash test dummies inside, just to certify the heat shield that it was okay to come back to Earth. And I'll be paying attention to that because I know that's important to Jeremy.
No kidding.
The life support system, we're trying to make it even better, more robust. We're trying to learn a lot about the radiation environment. So here, us on Earth, we're protected by the constant shower of deadly radiations that are bathing space by two things, by our atmosphere and by the magnetic field that surrounds the Earth. When you go to the moon, you're basically naked there without that protection. And so understanding of the space radiation environment is critical for the next steps. Build station around the moon and then maybe a station on the moon. So there'll be a lot of science experiments during Artemis II mission to clarify that and the impact on the crew. But really, it will mostly be the pictures, the view. The views. I think the perspective that space exploration gives us is maybe its biggest contribution to global wisdom, if you want. You cannot help, when you see the Earth floating in space, realize that there really isn't anywhere else to go for us.
Yeah.
We are Earthlings. And you can, with huge amounts of effort and imagination and collaboration and engineering, briefly get out of Earth and look at it from far away, but you still got to come back. So I think this whole environmental consciousness comes from spaceflight, paradoxically. Kind of have to leave your house to have the luxury of seeing it for what it is and realizing how blessed we are to have such a beautiful home in an otherwise eerily quiet, empty, and dead space. So I'll be looking forward to that perspective that the Artemis crew will bring back. And to Apollo, we're used to these crummy, kind of black and white, jumpy video. There's going to be something else for these missions. We're going to be on board with them. So I think really that's what I'll be mostly looking forward to, is the inspiration. Myself also always craving inspiration.
Yeah. Do you remember how that they call it the overview effect, I think, and just like seeing the Earth from space? What impact did that have on you specifically?
For me, it was like two-pronged. There was a very sobering realization that, yes, the Earth is amazingly beautiful and graceful, but man, we're in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of nowhere. There's a lot of radiation-filled, cold, empty space wherever you look. And then there's this amazing Earth. So there was this sobering realization that this is our home. We got to take care of it. Don't screw this planet. Don't screw it up.
Yeah.
You can't. So that's very sobering because clearly the resources are finite, and a lot of us stuck on this little planet. You can understand why there's geopolitical tensions. These are not small problems. So that's one aspect, very sobering realization that, wow, we really got to figure environmental, geopolitical issues out. The flip side, the positive side was that space exploration and these great international space programs, they're a shining example of what humans can do when we put aside our differences and decide to focus on things we have in common and work together. We can do superhuman things. We can really, it was really endearing for me to come to this conclusion that all these small humans there with all these little limitations, and when they work together, wow, it's unbelievable what we can do. So yes, on one side, the magnitude of the challenges we face cannot be understated. But on the other side, wow, man, humans can figure it out. We can. And I liked the practical side of human spaceflight because this is not blah, blah. This is daily practical demonstration that we can work together. We can.
Yeah.
Difficult sometimes to organize. We don't always work together. We can do very bad things and war. We can do all these bad things, yes, but we can also do miracles of collaboration. So I think these are these flip yin-yang for me of coming back from space. So I came back as a father, as a citizen, just reassured and optimistic, actually.
That's good. That's reassuring. Let's talk about Jeremy Hansen, who's a friend of yours, I think. You guys were in the same astronaut class in 2009, so you've trained together a lot, spent a lot of time together. And just tell us about who Jeremy Hansen is, the person, and who he is as a teammate.
So Jeremy and I go back a long time, back in 2008 during the astronaut selection campaign. Yeah, I remember very clearly the first time we spoke. It was during one of those crazy week of tests, and these were very hardy physical tests of endurance, not like sportsmanship. They put us in very uncomfortable situations, and we had to solve puzzles, and we're like exhausted. And I remember meeting Jeremy, thinking, "Wow, this guy's got his head screwed on tight, and he keeps his calm. I want to talk to him. Let's chat. Let's exchange notes." I had notes, had questions. I was looking for someone else to talk with, and I found Jeremy. And we were kind of on the same page. So the first time I met him, he filled me with a sense of trustworthiness. And I think he does that to everybody he meets. You meet Jeremy, something makes you want to trust him, and you can. So he's definitely a trustworthy guy. And Jeremy is someone who always thinks of others. At his core, he's not an egoist. He's an altruist and a team player. So that makes him also trustworthy. So I think that's the biggest aspect of Jeremy. We worked together very closely. He was my first flight instructor. I taught him about medicine a little bit. So what is asked of astronauts is too much for a normal person. We do it because we work together. We manage because we build on each other's strength. Jeremy and I have been like brothers who trust each other and are always there for each other. So he is very super proud, and he's the right guy. Yeah, he's the right guy for this mission, and I'm super proud of him. Yeah.
Are there moments you remember where you talk about trust, like where you saw that in action, like an example you can give?
So as a pilot, As a pilot, you're often faced with uncertainty and you make small mistakes and you don't know. I keep that for myself. I confide in other pilots. How do I learn from this? And with Jeremy, it was always natural to share, lesson learn, and very open about his own mistakes. And there is something endearing. I think that's how trust is built. That's how trust is built. So for me, that was very early on clear that there's like a safe space, or a safe
Interesting.
space around us. And, and then astronaut crews are based on that. Jeremy and his crew, their life depend on each other. And so there's many things required for a crew to work well, but number one is trust, mutual trust, because of the mutual dependency. And I think they're lucky. They're lucky. Yes.
So can you walk us through what his role is on this mission?
So this is a test flight mission. Okay. So this spacecraft has flown once before without anybody on board. And it didn't have most of the life support systems and a lot of the equipment wasn't there. So this is a test flight. It's very risky. So everybody has different roles on board, but they're all related to testing the system, proving the system, convincing themselves and NASA and the rest of the world that, okay, this system, this rocket, this capsule, they work well. We can move on to the next step, an even more ambitious mission, and then the next step, and then the next step. So his role will be to participate in those system tests. There will be a few experiments they're going to do, the crew also, on the radiation environment and on themselves to see the effect of the environment on themselves. There's going to be some manual flying they're going to have to do, backup systems. So that's the gist of it. They're going to be busy doing checkouts, basically. And it's possible because they have been, for the last few years, involved very deeply into the design of a spacecraft. They really understand everything about these super complicated machinery that's going to send them to the moon, keep them alive, and bring them back home. Test crew are a special kind of category of crew. They're very close to the engineering team, and they really understand the system at a very deep level. That's certainly the case of Jeremy.
Yeah. So you went up in the Soyuz, I think, right?
Correct. Yeah. We were on a Soyuz to the International Space Station.
Yeah. So how different is that experience than what this is going to be, do you think?
I never trained for the Orion capsule, but what I know of it is the Soyuz has a long history. My Soyuz was, I think, the 140th Soyuz.
Yeah.
So
it's a workhorse, right?
Over years, yeah, but every little snag, everything that could go wrong has gone wrong. And they've figured out a way that it doesn't happen again. It's safe in that sense, not in the sense that it's a perfect design. Rockets, there's no such thing as a safe rocket.
Yeah.
That's a lunacy. But you can have a lot of safeguards in place. Yeah, the Soyuz is a very trustworthy workhorse where all the snags have been ironed out. There's many layers of systems, and there is not a lot of consideration given to comfort, I have to say, but every effort made to keep the crew safe. And so that's the reliability is the thing that comes with repetition, Yeah. So eventually the Orion system will get there, but I'm sure that Jeremy and his crew, I'm sure they'll discover 1,000 bugs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Basically, it's a prototype.
It's absolutely a prototype. It's a test flight, the first flight with people on board. So they will come back with a long list of problems for sure. That's the point of the mission.
Yeah, absolutely. In your times in astronaut training, you must have met some of the original guys on the moon, like Buzz Aldrin.
We those who are still physically capable, they come to our yearly Christmas dinners.
Any comments they had about their moon missions?
That's a good question. So a couple of comments. Yes. I think I remember Albin saying that on one of his moonwalks, his very busy moonwalk, doing geology, basically. Go there, pick up this rock, check this, take this photo, very busy. Like every couple of minutes, there was a new step to do. He said he purposefully skipped a step and just stood there for a few minutes. And he said he had decided that he would bring back one fewer rock, but he would bring back one more emotion.
Wow.
Yeah.
How beautiful is that?
Yes.
Oh my God. Yeah.
And at the end of the day, that's where the inspiration lies. That's what I find when I do interviews or talk to kids. That really what's interests people most. What is it like? What is it like? What is it like to not be on Earth? What is it like to look at our planet? What is it like to be on another planet? That I didn't know. I don't know. But what is it? What is this weird experience like? And because you can describe it with words, because you're just a guy. You're very lucky to have been in this very unique, weird place. But I'm just a human like everybody else. If you make a little effort, you can put words into the experience. And it's very endearing how at the end of the day, it's still good old you.
Yeah.
It doesn't really transform. You're still a guy. You just happen
Yeah.
to be in a spacecraft. How weird is that? But it's remarkable how the human mind quickly normalizes experiences.
Yeah.
So you have a little window when it's still fresh and it's still shocking, a window to record your emotions. And that's, I think that's how you communicate it best. So
Yeah.
I'm very, obviously a little bit envious of Jeremy for this great opportunity to go around the moon. And I will look at the moon very differently during those 10 days. Yeah, I will try to spot him, or at least imagine him. Where is he now? What is he looking at? I'll wave at him.
Yeah. Yeah. As you say, there's about to be an Artemis generation born here. Literally, there will be millions of children around the world who want to become astronauts. What lessons should they be looking to gain from watching all of this, do you think?
That's an interesting question. Yeah, so everybody has their own little story on how it inspires them, but I think the power of spaceflight and inspiring kids is that it's clearly something difficult to do that requires a lot of effort and creativity and teamwork, but it's not a comic book. It's not a science fiction movie. It's real. So I think it kind of sets an upper bound to what's feasible, what's possible, and it's okay to dream of something really crazy and really big. If it's not impossible, it's a good dream. So that's what I tell my kids. I don't think you should limit your ambitions only to easy things or things you know for sure you can accomplish. I think there's a value in having dreams that you suspect are barely possible. I think that's a good dream. It's a good dream because all the dream needs to do is tell you very clearly in what direction you should take the next baby step. It doesn't need to be a destination that you really will reach. That'd be nice, but things happen, life changes, you turn left, you turn right, you change dream, it's okay. But without a dream, you don't really know where to go tomorrow. You don't know which way to push yourself. If the Artemis inspires kids to want to become artists because to celebrate the beauty of nature, that's fine. Doesn't have to be to become an astronaut or an engineer. There's so many reasons. I studied astrophysics as a young man, really because I thought it was beautiful. That's what drew me to it, because I thought these images were so beautiful. So
Is that the Hubble telescope?
For example, the Hubble Space Telescope images.
Yeah.
You can have all sorts of crazy dreams, but I think human spaceflight is really like a dream machine.
Yeah.
It has a great capacity to make people want to do something bigger than themselves, participate in something bigger than themselves. Certainly for me, for spaceflight, the international aspect is dear to my heart. The environmental consciousness is dear to my heart, but the international aspect is also important. The fact that even in these days of intense geopolitical tension, turmoil, war, still there's this one bridge open above the clouds. There's a bridge in space that's still open where we still work together, keeping the flame alive. So I think it's a beacon in the dark. The fact that we can work together like that, despite all the tensions, that gives me hope. I think it gives everybody hope. So they'll go for all mankind. Yeah.
That's a beautiful message. One last question. I'm always curious with astronauts if they have a favorite space movie. Is there a movie that you love more than others?
I'm not a big science fiction fan. Yeah, no, I'm a
Because you're such a science guy, though, too.
Yeah, but I like reality.
Yeah.
I think reality is pretty cool. Reality is pretty cool and full of mysteries and like actual science. But I loved Apollo 13 because
that's pretty
very
realistic.
correct. I did like The Martian because the characters in that movie are realistic. These are astronauts. That's what astronauts, that's the kind of people that astronauts
Just dealing with that they've been thrown. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I like that. The kind of hardy people. I just watched Interstellar recently with my kids.
That's a mind bender.
Yes, as a points for effort to trying to put advanced physics into kind of a visual format.
And a beautiful movie to watch with your children.
Beautiful movie to watch, yeah. And a lot of messages about the need to protect planet Earth and the fact that there isn't, it's be very difficult to move. Yes, difficult to move.
Yeah.
So I liked First Man. I think it was very well crafted, kind of psychological movie about I love The Right Stuff just because it's the right stuff. Yes.
Good stuff,
Yeah.
But fellow Quebecer Denis Villeneuve, like Arrival, is that?
Yes. And I also watch that with my kids. It's a tale of accepting different people.
Yeah.
And there's something about space exploration. I saw an exhibition once about the intersection between science fiction and space exploration. And they were demonstrating how it's not clear which one influences the other one. Yeah. It can go both ways. And I think it's because they're both the expression of the human mind trying to make sense of what is life outside this planet. And you can do it as a scientist or engineer or as an artist and visionary, but it's the same thing you're trying to accomplish, just different ways to do it. So at the end, I think it's not surprising that they had flip phones in Star Trek and before we had them for real. And it will go the other way. So, one of the nicest things that we did on board Space Station was to make these 360-degree movies about life in the station. I think it talks a lot to people. But looking back in hindsight, we mostly talk about our state of mind in there as we talk about because you realize if I'm going to talk about something, it's not going to be too technical. I'm going to have to talk about my emotions. I have to talk about what it feels like to be here. Yeah, we're just human. In a very, very strange context.
Do you have a bon voyage message to Jeremy if you get a chance to talk to him?
Yep. I wish for him I know he's going to be busy, but I wish for him to be able to clear his mind from time to time and just look outside and complete mindfulness and just do that for us, please. Just do that for us. Take the time to look outside, breathe it, take it all in, and then so you can describe it to us when you're coming back.
Fantastic. Well, listen, David Saint-Jacques, thank you so much for taking us on this mission a bit with you, and we'll be watching with you as well, I think.
Thank you. Godspeed, Jeremy. Godspeed, Artemis II.
Does that have you excited? You can't tell me that doesn't have you excited. I definitely am. Remember to follow us on social media at CanGeo for the latest Artemis II updates and on our website, canadiangeographic.ca. If you enjoyed this conversation, I think you'll really enjoy our other astronaut interviews, including Dr. Roberta Bondar, the first Canadian woman in space, and Commander Chris Hadfield. Both are super thoughtful and interesting conversations. And thanks to all of you who gave us starred reviews since the last episode as we make our own personal moonshot, the Apple Podcasts Places and Travel category. Rick Steves is still on top, but we're chipping away. We need to pull together on this. As the man said, this is a rupture, not a transition. Thanks especially to Wow4286, who wrote this 5-star review. Thank you for joy and generosity in learning more about great explorers. And to Orkney Dog, whose 5-star review described this podcast as great and really enjoyable. Thanks so much for that. Keep sending in your reviews and ideas. I love to get your feedback. It really helps the podcast, and there's a good chance we'll read them on upcoming episodes. And don't forget to subscribe. Until next time, when we'll explore again, I'm David McGuffin.
I think right now we're enjoying very much looking back at the Earth, and it's just a fantastic experience, and I just can't wait to get back and start telling people
We left
about it.
Simpson about June 10th with the Fur Brigade, consisting of a number of yacht boats, each manned by 10 voyageurs.
For us Inuit, it means that Inuit oral history is very strong.
And we flew low over every inch of the country that could be. We were hoping that he would fire at us.
I guess 160